How's it going? My name is Jeremiah Doughty with From Field to Plate. One of the most popular and most asked recipes that I get is how to French out a venison rack and how to stuff it. So what we're going to do today is show you a really simple way to clean off the bones, take off the silver skin, and stuff it with a simple, easy, basic recipe. And then we're going to throw it on a hot fire and grill it up. So you can see right here that I've already finished out this rack. I've already cut the bones, I've already trimmed off all the sinew, all the fat, all the meat, cleaned up all the silver skin. So we're going to do that same thing with this rack over here. First thing we're going to start with is a nice long sharp blade. Now your silver skin is going to run right on here. A lot of people overcut their venison when it's coming to this. One easy, simple way to do this is start kind of at a flat 40 degree or a 20 degree angle. And what you're going to do is you're actually going to flip, you're going to slice and flip. And as you're flipping, you're actually just pulling away all that silver and not pulling away too much of the meat. But it's all about that flick of the wrist. And when you're getting that sinew off, that silver skin. We're going to finish that all the way down, taking it all the way down. You're going to have a little hunk on the bottom. That's also going to have silver. We'll flip that over and take that off separate. Finish out that main vein of silver and cut it straight off. Now there's still a lot of meat left on this, and I noticed that if you want to make sausages or ground, one thing you're going to do is you can actually take this and just like you would fillet a fish, you can fillet off all that extra meat that you left on that silver skin. So now we can see through our silver skin compared to if we leave the meat on it. A lot of people will throw that right in the grind pile or will throw it right in the trash pile. If you do that with all the silver that you're taking off your animal, you're throwing away about a pound of meat on average. So all we're doing is trimming that up, and all that's going to go into our grind pile. Once that's off, you're going to flip it off, and you're going to see this little vein back here. That's going to run with silver, and it's going to have some tallow fat on there. We're going to do that same method where we kind of pull away, and it's going to pull that right off without taking barely any meat at all. So now we see that it's pretty. We'll finish it off. I like to square all my edges as we're cooking. We want all of our guests to look at food as not wild, but something that they're familiar with. They're familiar with clean lines getting from a grocery store. They're familiar with certain cuts. Like if you think about this is, you know, a king's crown with a rack of lamb. So it's familiar to them. They know what that looks like. So they're more comfortable eating wild when it portrays a domesticated animal. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take a knife, a kind of a dull knife. This knife is what I use for boning. You can do this, or you can use butcher's twine. Butcher's twine is a lot faster, a lot easier. The only problem is most of y'all aren't going to have butcher's twine at home. And it does take a little method to tie it. There's usually a drill hole, put a nail in, and you'll pull your sinew and fat. So what you're going to do is you're always going to work up towards yourself with a dull knife. Get a butter knife, get a dull knife, don't have it sharp. You don't want to slice it up and hit your finger. You're going to work it around the entire bone. And you're going to notice how clean it's getting. Once you get to an area in that bone that you can grab a bunch of meat, you're just going to pull up. And it's just going to start coming off that bone. Now I'm not going to go all the way up because as you see here, I'm going to trim this. So I'm going to go about a finger's length up total. So I'm not going to waste my time trying to get it off that end of that bone. I'm going to bring it all the way up to where I want my bones to be pretty and stop. This is why I said get a dull knife, because if you take your nice sharp kitchen knife doing this, it's going to dull it out real quick. And a lot of people don't understand how to sharpen their knives very well. And so it's just a hard time. So you're going to do that all the way along all those bones just like this. Next thing, go to your local hardware store, get a pair of nice rose pruners. Yes, it's kind of silly, it's kind of weird. But again, it's nice clean cuts, it's simple, it's easy, it's something that your kids can do with you. What you're going to do is just take that bone and it's done. It's pretty, it's clean, It's not breaking. It's not shredding anywhere. I'll actually sharpen this part as well on my grinders so that it's super sharp. Don't throw these away. If you make stock, if you make bone broth, these bones right here are full. They still got meat on them. They still have fat on them. That fat's going to render down. That meat's going to go into your broth. Add all bones to your broth. Next, you've got a little bit of fat that's still sitting up here. This fat is what we call like a tallow fat. It's going to be more like waxy in your mouth. It's not going to have a positive flavor. It's going to have more negative flavor. It's also going to hold some of that gamey, wild essence that a lot of people don't like in their animal. So what you're going to do is you're going to take it, and the bottom of that bone is going to be down. So you're going to see it. The bone itself is going to be about here. So we're going to take our knife. We're going to cut up towards that bone. Grab 3 bones at a time, and you're going to bring that sharp knife right up and cut out that vein of fat. There'll still be a little bit of the fat that's going to sit right there on the bone. That's fine. We want to get off these giant, nasty chunks of fat. So now that we have 2 racks, this is each side of a doe that we shot a couple days ago. Now comes the fun part of stuffing it. You'll see a lot of guys butterfly these open. They're going to slice it, they're going to flip it open, then they're going to stuff it, and then they're going to tie it and twine it and wrap it. Still great to do. The only problem is what you'll do is get a lot of seepage. You get a lot of meat coming out, or you get a lot of the juices coming out. What I do is I get a really thin fillet blade, a sharp, thin fillet blade. And what you're going to do is you're going to just take that in, and you're going to poke that in all the way through your meat until it comes out on the other side. Okay? All you're doing is you're creating a cavity in that meat, about a finger's width of cavity. Taking that sharp knife, make sure you stay as center as you can. Let me right out there. We're going to set these aside and we're going to work on the stuffing for the inside of these stuffed loins. As you know, all my cooking is all about basic, simple, flavorful ingredients. So what we did is we actually put we put 2 types of onions, garlic, shallots, rosemary, and thyme on our smoker earlier today, our grill, to add flavor and depth. So we've got about 1.5 cups of smoked white onion, 1.5 cups of smoked red onion and shallots. We have 4 bulbs, full bulbs of smoked garlic. And we've got about 4 sprigs of rosemary and thyme. Now all that's going in to this mixture. What we're going to do then is we're going to add just a little bit of olive oil to get everything to kind of meld together. Take a knife or a spoon or a spatula, whatever you got. Then, take a good old Ziploc bag. If you have a pastry bag, it works a lot better. If you don't have a pastry bag, you don't go out and buy a pastry bag. Ziploc bags are going to work just fine. Fill your pastry bag with your whole mixture. Smells incredible. Move all your toppings to one side. Squeeze out as much of that oxygen as you can. Then you're going to cut off the tip of that Ziploc bag. That's why I was saying if you had a pastry bag, the tip's already cut, you have a nice piping tool to do that with. And sometimes Ziploc bags don't like to work as good. All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to take our bag, we're going to kind of twist it, kind of make like a little triangle piping bag. We're going to take that hole that we cut and kind of put our finger in there to kind of get it going. Or shove that pipe bag in there, and we're just going to squeeze all that mixture into that venison. All right, so once you have those venison loins completely stuffed with all that goodness, we're going to take a little mixture of smoked paprika, dried garlic, salt, pepper, and some chili powder. We're going to generally apply as much of that mixture as we can to our meat. Any of your favorite spices are going to work. If your family's favorite spice is some steak seasoning, throw that steak seasoning on it. Don't feel that you have to copy it exactly. Best part about recipes is they're meant to be a baseline for what your family and you like to eat. Now these are done, we're going to throw these on a super, super hot charcoal grill or your smoker or whatever you got going, your big green egg. And you're going to cook these to about 140 degrees. You want to pull them at about 140 because they're going to continue to cook to 145. You want to cook them to that medium rare to medium temperature, but allow all the inside to heat up, allow it to get a nice crust on the outside. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to slice these. Stay tuned, we're going to hit the grill. All right, now that we've spent a little time on the grill, we have our tomahawks. I just thinly sliced them between the bone, as you can see. And if we get this little final shot here, you'll see that all that onion and garlic and shallots and rosemary and thyme, it makes a beautiful presentation. Super easy to do, super simple. Now, the trick with this is if this is too rare for some of your guests, you can actually take this little hunk, put it back on the grill, and sear each side, and it totally plays a trick on their mind as they eat it, that it's more well done, but it's actually not. Another cool thing is if you've got kids, they like to pick these up and eat them, but if they kind of have a weird thing about the bone, you can go right against that bone and take it off, and then gnaw the meat off that while your guests aren't looking. Take that sharp knife, slice into this, and you can plate it as a pile, as an appetizer, where they can grab some toothpicks, come by, grab that. It gets the onions, the garlic, the rosemary, the thyme. It's beautifully rare. And that is how you make Frenched out racks stuffed with deliciousness. I'm going to go eat the bone.